Welcome back to KV News Midday, everybody. Well, a financial survey shows Americans now say it takes $1.46 million to retire comfortably. That is $200,000 more than last year. But chasing that big round number may be the wrong way to think about retirement. That's why we invited Nathan Fort from Vital Wealth and Retirement. He's going to answer all our questions. Okay, so everyone wants to know how big their nest egg is going to be. What's wrong with knowing that number, and what should we be asking?
Well, there's a better approach because you can have two different households retire with the same bucket of money. One can have more than enough money to last 30 years. The other household can be out of money.
And really, first household.
Me too. I think everybody else. The difference is not really the bucket, it's how it's used. What are they doing with the money? So the better approach is to ask a question more about cash flow. How much money do I need to retire? What do I need to survive, and what do I need to thrive? Like, what's that cash flow? So thinking more cash flow than lump sum.
So like how much money I need to live.
Yeah.
Sort of thing,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
how much money me and my spouse think. Okay. So how do people find that income number?
Yeah, so a good way to do that is to start with what you're spending right now. And if you don't know, now's a good time to know. And with the resources we have available, you can take your credit card statements, bank statements, throw it into ChatGPT and say, how am I spending my money? And it'll detail that. That's a good place to start. And then you gotta make sure you're baking in healthcare costs. This number usually scares people because for a 65-year-old retiring this year, you're looking at $185,000 in healthcare costs over retirement. So for a couple, $370,000 for healthcare costs, medical costs.
And I read that number is not even all encompassing. That's not for like long-term care, right?
Correct.
That is scary.
But before you get scared, I mean, that's not
not
the objective of this interview here, right? But it can be scary if you don't have a plan. If there's no strategy, you're not in the know, it is scary. But what you're going to do is you're going to take that number, whatever that is, what you're spending, healthcare costs that you're projecting, and subtract from that any guaranteed sources of income, which would include your Social Security. Maybe there's pensions. Here in Austin, we have TRS, ERS members. There's TMRS. You go down the list. And then that leaves you with the amount of income that your portfolio has to generate. So let's say the guaranteed income is $30,000.
Okay.
You need $80,000. Which means your portfolio now is going to have to supply $50,000 a year, which means you're going to need about $1.2 million to do that. But here are the two major factors we haven't talked about yet, and that is taxes and inflation. Yeah, that's my reaction too.
Right.
Taxes and inflation. So depending on how you address those risks, that can really determine whether you are successful or whether you're going to need some help.
Listen, everything you just said is so overwhelming. I guess that's the point of having a plan and being prepared, and there are experts like yourself who can really help. So what's your recommendation? At what point should a future retiree like myself contact you?
Now. And I'd say even if you're not sure that you can retire or you think you're years away from retiring, there's one thing that's that's the next best thing to retiring is knowing when you can. And knowing that you can. That's a huge relief. We've seen people come into our office just really in the rut. They're not happy about the work situation. They're depressed about this. They're scared about this. But just getting the clarity about their financial situation and knowing when they can retire brings the relief.
Sure.
Immediately.
Knowing how much longer you need to work. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So we offer, and you can access this through our website, is what we call a financial clarity session. When we sit down, we help you get clear about your current situation, challenges and opportunities, and help you get clear about where you're headed and what can we do now with the time that we have, with the resources that we have to set ourselves up. And so we can feel confident about our future.
And Nathan, if people have questions, what's a good contact number, a website, whatever?
You can go to retireaustin.com. That's an easy one to remember. Vitalretirement.com. Just remember Nathan Fort. You can Google Nathan Fort. There's a lot of ways to find us. We're pretty easy to find.
Yep, he is pretty easy. Nathan, thank you for that.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.